Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to the next class project, the project number 4. And I really hope that you enjoy painting this one. So first of all, let's have a look at the colors that we need. A lot of colors in this one and a lot of wet on wet technique. So keep an eye out for, and also listen to some of the tips and tricks and also some challenges that I'm talking through in this one. If only you want to do it, there's no pressure. Okay, so we start with a nice transparent yellow, quinacridone gold, transparent orange, quinacridone rose, cobalt blue, violet, phthalo blue, and paint gray. Okay, so those are the colors that we need for this one. So if you're ready, let's get started with this one. All right, let us start. So no pencil sketch today, but unfortunately a lot of wet on wet work. So let's go ahead and grab our large size brush and apply a lot of water onto our paper. So today you're gonna have to apply the water multiple times to make sure that your paper stays wet longer. Okay, so now it's back to a lot of wet on wet practice again. That's what we're going to do. So take your time, let the water sink in. So something that I like to do is to basically apply the water onto your paper. There you go. And then hold on, like wait for around 3 to 4 minutes until you see that the paper has soaked up the water and the water's gone in. So what actually happens at that point is that, so you know that the paper's got some thickness, right? Because we're using 300 GSM paper. See, it's a bit thick. So what actually happens when you wait like that is the water goes into the fibers of the paper. So it goes through the thickness, it settles inside and goes to the fibers in the middle of the paper, and then like the top portion of the paper has started to dry out, so we apply the water again. Okay, so what happens is now the middle layers, that is the middle fibers of the paper, are still wet, and then when you reapply again, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to dry because there is no space for it to penetrate deep down because it's still already wet inside. So that's how your paper stays wet longer. So if actually you're not using 100% cotton paper and or you're in a place with, you know, a lot of dry, arid conditions, okay, then you might want to definitely do this multiple times. Okay, so you can see my papers like started to dry in, as in dry out on the top, but the water's actually sinking in. Okay, so if I go over the top again and again, making sure that my paper is really wet. Okay, so I'm gonna wait again. You're not gonna see the waiting time, don't worry, but I'm just gonna wait for it to dry, not dry, but the water to go into the fibers, and then I will reapply the water because we literally have some nice wet on wet techniques to do. All right, there you go. It's been around 4 minutes now. So you can see it's almost dried, but it's not though. So let me show that sheen on my paper, which shows that it's still wet. It's got still some water in it. So now we are going to apply over it again. Here you go. Grabbing my brush and applying the water nice and evenly. Okay, I know this needs a little bit of a patience. So if your paper, like you've observed from your past paintings that your paper starts to dry out quickly, then you definitely probably, you know, need to wait. Okay, so there you go. I've applied the water nicely. Now I'm gonna have to absorb the excess water, right? So here you go, just grabbing a tissue at the moment, just whatever I got in my hand, and absorbing all the excess water from the sides, breaking up any excess water there, and there you go, absorbing all that excess moisture from the paper, then from the top regions as well. Okay, there you go. Okay, then holding my paper at an angle, I'll probably run along just the middle. I did do a mistake at the beginning where I touched the edge and the tape, so that's now left a little bit of water. Okay, now I think that's at a very good level, and we will start painting. So the trick part today is basically we're going to use a smaller size brush. A smaller size brush to get those smaller strokes. Okay, so that's what we are basically going to do. So let us start, shall we? So I do want to paint at the bottom here, but as I'm looking at my paper, I can see that it's a bit more watery than how I would like to paint the bottom part. So you can actually remove some of the water by running a brush along and absorbing any excess water, so long as you have a tissue or something of that sort to absorb the excess moisture that you're picking back from the paper. Okay, so there you go. I've absorbed the excess moisture. Absorbing the moisture from the top of the paper does not mean that it's making your paper dry, but rather it's just you're picking up excess water from the surface. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and start the painting process. Okay, so here I'm going to grab a nice yellow color. That's what we need. So this is transparent yellow. Transparent yellow is the best color to use in this case because it just gives like a beautiful glowy look, and it's transparent, so it actually looks beautiful. So we want the bottom part is where our land, the foreground is going to be, so we want to start like somewhere around there. And this is the reason why we're using a smaller brush. So we're going to like make small teeny tiny clouds and teeny tiny lines. Okay, see how we are doing that? Okay, there you go. Then over as we come to the top, you're going to drop in teeny tiny amounts of paint again. Okay, and then again at the top, literally teeny tiny. So here I'm just gonna have some paints flow like that. So we are creating like, you know, absolute beautiful shapes for our clouds. That's what we're trying to aim here. Okay, so there you go. That is done. Now we'll go on to the next color, which is basically going to be a little bit of quinacridone gold. Okay, so here you go, just grabbing my quin gold, and now you're going to put that quin gold over on top of the yellow region that we just applied. Not on all the areas, again, just some random. Okay, so now the yellow will be the dominant color, and you're just going to place at random towards almost the center, maybe some of the color strokes. See? Okay, now we've done that. Now let's grab on to the next color, okay, which is basically transparent orange. And we're going to put that transparent orange at random places as well. Okay, so we want a nice orange at the base. So this is where we want to make sure that our paper is still wet. So we're going to blend in some of the areas, especially towards the bottom here where we want it to be a bit more nice orange shade. Okay, so but leave a nice gap of the orange there, and then come down, leave that white space. Okay, do not cover it up, very very important. Okay, so then again, this here at the right side is okay, you can cover it up, just leave that space there. Then again, coming back to here, picking up the orange, start from the yellowy region as well, and then just go inward and create these random strokes. Okay, so then again, just gonna create a lot of these smaller strokes. Okay, there you go. Then maybe some ones here. Then now as we approach towards the top, we're going to create some random but smaller clouds over to this region. Okay, see, lots of smaller clouds there. Maybe even to this area we can put a lot of smaller clouds. Okay, then let's get to quinacridone rose now. My quinacridone rose is mixed with a little bit of white, so I need to clean that up first. Okay, because I need it to be transparent. If I don't use the transparent color, it'll, you know, have a denser pigment. Okay, so that's why. So there, grabbing the pink now, and I'm going to put it onto the areas in between. You know, the white areas somewhere in between the oranges. So that's where I'm going to put my quinacridone rose. Okay, just at random in some of the areas. definitely it's going to mix up with maybe the yellow to create like an alizarin or a reddish color. That's okay, nothing to panic about. Let it do that, okay? But here's the shade where we're just mixing it up, okay? So we want to make sure that you put the pinks more towards the areas where there are orange, because when we're applying the blue later on, we do not want our blue to be touching the orange. So this is how we're going to distinguish our blues in the sky, okay, with the orange, okay? So there you go. That's a lot of drama there already. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and grab the blue quick. And this time, what we're going to use is cobalt blue. The reason for cobalt blue is that it's not going to mix up easily with the yellow to create a very denser green. It would still make green, okay? Do not misunderstand that. It would still make green, but it will be very subtle. So, but you do not want it to touch any of the yellow areas, but rather take a very, very light pigment of the blue. See, it's a very watery mixture right here that I'm using, and this is what we're going to put onto those regions, okay? So maybe towards the center you can actually put in the blue, but as you go closer to the yellow regions, you want to make sure that it's lighter, okay? Because then otherwise it's going to make green on your paper, which we do not want, okay? So see, just in the areas, okay, that is probably a little bit on the green side. That's okay. Okay, but still, see where I am able to just grab my cobalt blue and apply. So over to the pink, you can apply on the top. It's just going to make a little bit of a purple shade, which should be okay. Okay, then again, if you've picked up denser pigment, go ahead, apply it to the top. Then once the color on your brush has lightened up, then apply onto the other areas. Okay, see that? Okay, let's grab more now. So we're starting to pick up more denser pigment. Maybe if you want, like when you reach towards the top, you can actually switch your brush to a larger one, because the top areas are mostly going to be covered in this blue paint. So you could actually shift to a larger one, okay? But I just wanted to challenge myself, and I swore that for this entire painting, I'm only going to use this one brush, okay? So it's going to be a challenge for the foreground as well while we paint. Watch out. So this is a size 4, okay? Sometimes it's good to challenge ourselves, as in, okay, I will only use a single brush, or like one kind of brush strokes, or some sort of challenges, which will make you better. But you only need to reach up to that challenge state if you're confident with your all the other works. Like for example, for me, I know that I'm very, very confident with my wet on wet strokes, so which is why I'm able to challenge myself. But if you're not confident yet, you don't have to go through this challenge, okay? So that's why you don't have to do exactly as I'm saying, like to go ahead and use just a single one brush. You can use more than one brush. It's absolutely fine. Okay, so see now all the drama we've created in the sky over there. So we can go back with any of the other colors that you want. Like here, I'm grabbing a little bit of the pink shade, and then, you know, just adding. So as you add it along to the bluish regions, it's actually going to make a little bit of the violet tone. Okay, that's okay. We love it. We like the violet. Let it turn into the violet shade, because that's also something that we want in our sky. Okay, and then see what I'm going to do right now is I've created some violet strokes so that I know in my brush that it's violet. Okay, it's a dull violet, but it's still there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my violet, which I picked from here, and I'm going to put it onto this region, okay, over onto the orange as well. So then that would make it a little bit of a brown. So see, at this bottom here, we're getting a little bit of a brown stroke, which was actually made from a violet. So we're not mixing any brown, but see how that's turned out, and see how back when I painted on the white region, it's got that beautiful red, purple, violet touch, all from a single pink shade that we started with, and then we painted on the blue, and then it's picked up and made into a violet on our brush, and then as I apply, see, it's coming as purple. So this is the magic of watercolors. So I know this is a little bit tough, seems a bit tough probably, but it's okay. Your painting doesn't have to look exactly the same as mine. So feel free to, like, change stuff if you want. Okay. Then I'm also gonna go for a teeny tiny amount of violet. Okay, you go. That's a teeny tiny amount of violet, and I want to put that violet, okay, over onto some of the areas here, right? Okay, like, because I can see that my pink and orange has like kind of blended, and see how it's very lightened up in that region. So you could also, instead of the violet, just grab a little bit of the cobalt blue and add that. Okay, see? Okay, see, just adding a bit of the cobalt blue. But now I'm not done yet. I want to make this more vibrant towards the top. So here now I'm grabbing my phthalo blue, and I will put the phthalo blue over to the top and make like little cloudy shapes on the top, okay, with the phthalo blue, but only towards the top regions. Okay, there you go, just at the top, grabbing that dense color and adding, but do not bring this cool blue. So phthalo blue is a very cool blue. Do not bring this over to the bottom region. We do not want it there. Okay, we only want it towards the top. Then I think now I'm also going to grab in a little bit more of my violet for some of the upper regions. Okay, there you go. And then I'm going to mix it with cobalt blue, so that's like a bluish violet color, see that? And that I'm going to apply over the top. So on top of the phthalo blue, it turns into a dark blue color. Okay, that's okay, but as you come down with it, it turns into a nice purple shade. Okay, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so just go ahead, blend some of that in there, but here, okay, see, just I'm creating nice random shapes and everything. Okay, so if you feel that some of your color has gone, you can go ahead and put it back onto the paper, but just make sure that your brush is dry now. You need to paint with dry and wet. So here I'm drying my brush, okay, and then picking up the pink because I know that my paper has dried out. But then when I'm applying dry and wet, the color stays and it blends along nicely because there's no water on my paper that I'm reintroducing back onto the paper. Okay. I mean, no water on my brush. Did I say water on my paper? Oops. See, okay, some nice strokes. Okay, a little bit denser there, mix that up, and there you go. That is our background. Very, 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 very dramatic sky indeed. Okay, so in order to make this exciting, the one thing that we can do is to have a background that's on wet as well, but we don't need to do that. Let's not do it. I will do the wet on dry. So what we'll do now is we'll wait for this to dry out so that we can put in the foreground. All right, there you go. It's completely dried now. So now we'll go ahead, grab the same brush because of my challenge. You can go with whatever brush you want. All right, and we'll paint the foreground, okay? Foreground, pretty simple here. What we're going to do is we're going to grab in, because this is a sunset scene, we need to make sure that it shows a sunset touch. So I'm just going to mix in Payne's Gray and violet together. The reason being, so sunset, it's not, the colors are not really black. It needs to reflect what's there in the sky. So it is darker, but it will also reflect the colors in the sky, which is why I'm grabbing violet and mixing it up with my Payne's Gray. Okay, so that it's like a black violet shade. Can you see the color when it goes to a lighter tone? What color is it? But at the denser stage, it looks like black, but it's not, because see, okay, so that's what we're going to be using, this denser color at the base. Okay, so go ahead, put in nice foliage, don't have to make any details. Okay, grab the color, just put something random. Okay, there you go. And then I think towards the right side, I'm just going to increase the height a teeny tiny bit. Okay, denser also. Make sure that the color that you pick up is very dense over to the bottom, so that because watercolors dry lighter. Always remember that point. Okay, then obviously what I need to do is like kind of create the effect of the foliage. So I'm gonna have to create a variation. So I'm just like, just creating vertical strokes like that to mimic like grass and some plants. I don't know, whatever, but just go ahead and create like a denser foliage. Don't do the same things, so go with whatever you want. Okay, like see, I'm just putting, so when I'm doing these upward larger strokes, I'm using the tip of my brush, and then as I come towards the bottom, I again might press it down. So just bring a variety of strokes. Okay, I'm doing this only because it's the challenge. You could go opt for a smaller size brush. Please don't be pressurized to use the same brush like I'm involuntarily choosing here. Okay, and nobody's forcing you to do that. It's just a personal challenge for me. Okay, and to make my paintings look absolutely haphazard, I would say. Okay, and I do really enjoy when my paintings have that random look. Like, see that? Okay, it's completely random. I didn't even plan it. It just came naturally out of the brush, but I love it. So some things like that. Okay, so here just gonna do okay, and then as I approach towards the right is where I'm going to increase the heights of my plants that I'm adding. Okay, but observe here that I don't always connect all my plants, because I leave that for the eyes. I leave that connection part for the brain. I mean, I enjoy it, but if you would rather, have like perfect realism, absolute realism, then by all means go ahead and draw perfect lines. But I believe that with watercolors, this looks much more attractive and it makes it pleasing for the eyes to see when you've got like, such absolute randomness going on. Okay, it's just personal preference again, and it's personal perception as well. So don't believe everything that I say. It may not be true for others. Okay, so again, only over to this side. So I'm just gonna put like denser branches and foliage. So again, using this brush. Okay, see? Okay, it's just random branches of a tree, I suppose. Okay, that's extending outward. Okay, see, it's just the tree branch is probably here. I mean, the main trunk is probably here, and this is where it's extending outward. See that? So that's just absolute random detail. You don't have to put anything perfectly. You can even go for like, some random splatters maybe, but you need something to cover on this side because you don't want all the splatters to be on that side. Let me see if I do with my hand. Yeah, maybe. That does work a little. See, a little bit of a splatters on that side. Actually, that's the reason why I like to do the splatters with my hand like that, because it would only appear on one side. Okay, so there you go, that's our painting. But in order to make this a little beautiful, one thing that you could do is to add in birds. Okay, something that I really love to do is to add in birds. So in order to add birds, you need to know how. So what I usually do is, so observe the tip of my brush, and then I do a little bit press on one side, and then on that same starting point I press a bit onto the other side, and see, that's created like a bird. Okay, so now I'm going to do it on the paper, which is basically something like that. Okay, and then you're going to do that the same thing in different directions. So here, pressing along this way, and then another towards the other side. So that means the bird is kind of flying. Okay, so this is how you would add different birds. See that? Okay, you could also add them in different sizes. So there you go. See, just a lot of birds. So you could totally skip the birds if you want, but that's okay. Anyways, here you go. Here's the finished painting. Let me go ahead and quickly dry this up so that we can remove the tape. Here you go. It's all dried up. So let me remove the tape. And here you go. Here's the final painting. So I really hope that you enjoyed painting this with me. I honestly did. And look at that subtle violet color picking in through after it's dried up. When it was painted, it looked black, but now it's picking up as a little bit violet, and it's that gorgeous, isn't it? All right, so here you go, and I will see you in the next class project.